Join me as we talk all things true crime.
Made contact and shattered.
Missing 4-year-old. The parents have called in and advised that the mother has went through a wall, came home, now they can't find her.
Chad, where are Lori's kids? They've been missing for 4 months. You have nothing to say?
4 were stabbed multiple times and were likely asleep during the attack. Some had defensive wounds.
Most of them had just like one that was the lethal stab wound.
Oh, what a tangled web we weave. Once I told a lie, and I told my family, I had to keep lying.
Procurement is a demon.
Include anybody.
All right. Hello, everybody. It's so good to see you guys. Hello, Pointer Lover. I saw my friend Johnny in here. Tony's here. Derek made it. I'm so glad you made it. I know a lot of times my live streams are super late for some people and their schedules. So I appreciate when I can see you guys every now and then when you can pop in. So I just want to get started. Let me know if you can hear me. And please hit the like button. It's super important to hit the like when we're talking about an Amber Alert case. So Sebastian Rogers has been missing now for, it's been a while. We're going to go through some updates, which the update today from TBI wasn't much of an update. So we'll just get into starting to share some stuff. And hello, Zoe, and everyone else who's joining. Okay, people hear me fine. Thank you, Sherry. I really appreciate that. Hello, Amy in Boston. Good to see you as well. So let's start with the updates for Sebastian Rogers, and then we'll get into Madeline Soto. I want to share the TBI website, their newsroom, Amber Alert statuses. So it says April 25th, 2024, April 26th marks 2 months since Sebastian Rogers was reported missing from his Sumner County home. Since that time, TBI special agents from multiple units have been assisting the Sumner County Sheriff's Office in efforts to locate Sebastian. These efforts have included multiple large-scale searches on the ground, in water, and from the air. The searches have included multiple local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies, including the FBI and Secret Service. Residents in the area have also conducted searches on their own properties in the hopes of finding Sebastian or learning what may have happened to him. To date, there have been no confirmed sightings of Sebastian since the issuance of the alert. Sorry, guys, I stumbled on that for whatever reason. TBI special agents continue to review the information gathered since the investigation began, follow up on all leads or tips that come in, and work with counterparts from law enforcement agencies to review strategies and consider options. The Amber Alert for Sebastian Rogers remains active. We continue to encourage anyone with information. Please call 1-800-TBI-FIND or send an email to tips@tbi.gov. And then over here was the recent tweet that they put out on X. TBI Bureau of Investigation says the search for Sebastian Rogers continues and remains ongoing. Then it also says call 1-800-TBI-FIND or email tips to that same website I just read with any information you may have on Sebastian Rogers. And that, unfortunately, was 10 hours ago and pretty much is the update, the most recent. If you go to this website, it's just tbinewsroom.com. You can go through and see each day, here it goes back to March, what they did in that time, and so on and so forth. So the one that I read was the most recent one, which was posted yesterday. And today, like it says, marks 2 months and nothing, not even a sighting of him. That says that FBI and special or Secret Service have been included in, helping them, but they are not, FBI is not the lead in this investigation. I know there's a lot of people who really want FBI to take the lead in this. That I don't know what it takes for them to kind of step in and take over, but it really is sad, Bella. It really is nothing. It is very, very sad. And what can we say? Like there's nothing really to go off of. Like we said, there's been no confirmed sightings, nothing even remotely close to maybe being something of substance. I'm reading something from the Facebook group. It says this case is actually not as challenging as what others are assuming. It's just a lack of discovery of physical evidence. Let's go back to the basics. 1, he did not run away. Now, I find that interesting only because when we go back and we look at some of the first interviews with the parents, the mother and the stepfather, Chris, the mother has said more than once, like, we don't know why he left. We don't know why he walked out the door. And then it seems as though her theory in certain interviews have turned into, we believe that he's been taken. So I'm confused on why it started off with them kind of pushing this whole, like, we don't understand why he left, why he walked out that night, and then switching it to they think that he's been taken. Again, it's important to note they have no evidence of foul play. So when people are annoyed at people for questioning the parents, and they're saying things like, how dare you? How would you like it if they were coming after you when you were in this situation? They've stated over and over, there's no sign of foul play. Somebody could have him and he could be alive. Well, if somebody has him and he's alive, that's foul play. So you can't really pick which theory of foul play you think is appropriate. So statistics and just the way that investigations always work, they will look at people closest to the child first. So if that means looking at who that child is living with, then that's what it is. If that means looking at, even students, they interviewed Sebastian's closest friends. They've obviously talked to his teachers. Everybody has kind of been looked into. So I just feel like at this moment, they've even stated everything is on the table. We are looking at every single option of what might have happened to him. So to kind of go after channels and creators for saying things that they're suspicious of the mother or the stepfather, some have even been suspicious of the bio dad, and then to say, well, he could be taken by somebody and he's out there. It's like, you can't pick which theory of foul play you think we should be looking into. No foul play means he wouldn't have, they don't even think that he's been kidnapped. So again, I think that every theory at this point, we have to keep everything out there. I mean, I'm even keeping the option out there that he got in an argument perhaps with his mother, and out of anger, she says something like, well, why don't you just pack up and leave then if you don't like it here? And then he calls her bluff and actually leaves and something happens, like, I think that everything could be on the table. Angela says KP was the last one with him. She holds the answers. A lot of people think that. When you're the last person to see someone who goes missing or who is murdered, and it's been confirmed, that they found them, and this, who were they with last? It's always going to be looked into that person who saw them last. So I think that, we don't know for sure. We can't state things as facts, but we should all be able to conduct our channels the way we want and not be badgered because of our opinions. So with that being said, I think that a lot of people are saying Katie is key. They're definitely pointer liver. I think even I've gone through the theory of, like, did he get mad and like walk out of the car like when they were on their way back home? Like, I'm not so certain that he even made it home that night. Again, I'm not set on that theory, and everything that we're going to talk about beyond the facts are, of course, opinion and theory. Yes, being bio girl. And you know what? It's funny that you bring that up. So she says, how do you hear a thud and not check on your child? It's like, not only that, but something that I've noticed about the mother, she has never once come out saying, I regret not checking on him. And it's never once do you hear her say, like, every day I replay that thud over and over in my head. And I just wish I would have gone up there and seen what was going on. Or, there's never anything that she says that kind of indicates regret towards that noise that she heard that night. Then her son goes missing. She never sees him again. Now, she claims that he yelled back to her that he didn't fall off the bed or that he was okay or whatever. And she claims that she heard his voice after the thud at 10 p.m. Again, that's coming from her. That's coming from the mother. Do we know that that's actually the truth? I mean, we really don't. And I would hate to say like she must be lying, but we have to look at every scenario. She's either telling the truth and she just, she doesn't even have it in her to say she regrets not checking on him, which is odd to me, or she's lying and he never even said anything to her at 10 p.m. So it's really, you have to look at both sides. The mother is either lying or there's something we're severely missing. And for some reason, she doesn't have regrets on not checking that. I don't buy into the mom's and Chris's non-reaction to him being missing at all. There's been a lot of interviews also when we go back and look where her eyes look a little bit watery, but I don't see anything running down her face. And to me, that's kind of red flaggish. Yeah, especially since he has fluid on the right side of his brain, right? If you hear a thud, not only with any child, but somebody who has a brain injury or pre-existing situation like he did, it's alarming. Hello, Brooks, and someone else came in too that I wanted. Zowoki, good to see you. Sherry says Katie is key to solving this. So there was a few things I wanted to share. Hello, Bubba, good to see you. No tears in selling the house. So no tears. She left the residence, remember? And everyone's like, oh, Nancy Grace asked, like, when will you be back? And she's like, well, we're headed back. And then she does that most recent interview that came out about a week ago. So she came out with a new interview. It looks like she's lost some weight. Now, of course, stress can do that. The real question is, yeah, I didn't know if the selling the house was true or not. Pointer Lover saying that's not true, but true or false, she left the residence when her child was missing. And that's just not the norm. You don't really see that in situations where the mother has nothing to do, or the person, could be the father too in certain situations, the person has nothing to do with it. Just very odd type behavior. Not the norm. That's all we can say is, most parents are there at the home base in case they come running back, especially since she kind of put it out there, like, we don't know why he walked out of the house. Well, then why are you leaving the area that you're saying he left from? So anyway, so she lost weight, I believe, from stress. Let me pull up. And of course, stress can do that. Now, what is the reason that she lost weight? What's the stress? Is it because she knows more, or is it because she's a grieving mother who just doesn't know where her son is? It's one of those things where you kind of have to look at both sides. And right now we don't know the official answer. I'm not going to play this whole interview. I've only clipped part of it. The reason why I clipped this part is for something that she says that, to me, other people might not find this alarming or odd, but to me, I do. And it was something that she sort of parroted from Chris. Of course, I spent all day trying to find where Chris said it, and I could not find which interview he says it, but they refer to this situation as a tragedy. And some people might say, like, well, yeah, your child is missing. Of course, that's a tragedy. other people like myself might think like, well, that's an odd phrase, or that's an odd word to kind of pick for this situation, because a tragedy almost makes it seem like it's final. It's there's no hope. It's something that's kind of set in stone, and it's tragic. That's it. That's the end of it. That's the end of the story. So Chris has said that in an interview, and she says it here. And I just think that it's sort of red flaggish, and I don't know. So let me just play that so we can hear her again. This was her most recent interview. It's not the whole thing. It's just her talking about the situation and calling it a tragedy. I just think that a tragedy is the wrong word to use when they're trying to say that they're going to find him and that they want him home. It just seems like you would use a different word. And if it wasn't something that I had already heard Chris say, I might just say like, oh, well, she's in an interview. Maybe she's nervous, picked the wrong one. But I almost feel like it was a script that she's kind of heard before. So again, it's just my opinion. You guys let me know what you think.
I would say that this isn't a tragedy that we would wish anyone to ever experience. We're keeping our faith, and we're praying every day that we're going to find Sebastian.
Like a shocker. Like, how do you not know?
Okay, and then we're going to get into this part of this interview from Chronicles of Olivia. Yeah, Kimberly, we went into that in, I think, my last live stream on this, or maybe the first live stream. We haven't done an update on this because, unfortunately, there hasn't been much of an update besides Seth, the father, getting a PI, and Chris and Katie and Seth allegedly now working all together as a team. It seems like, and you guys let me know if this is true as well, as soon as Seth got the PI, though, Seth has said things like he hasn't really heard much from Chris. And it makes me worry that now that they have the PI, are Katie and Chris, concerned about their calls being recorded and there being an ulterior motive for Seth wanting to suddenly work together as a team and not throw shade at each other like they were in the beginning. So Seth has 4 PIs. Everything they say is scripted. And yeah, her not calling the bio dad and, asking about the biggest flag is she never calls Seth in the morning to ask if he has seen or heard from Sebastian. Right. That was totally something that early on, we were like, that's odd. That's very odd. Hi, Melissa Jade. Good to see you. So it makes me wonder, if Katie and Chris are indeed shooketh. So now that there's a PI involved, even though they've said like, we're going to bury the hatchet and work as a team now, it seems like Seth has had a hard time kind of getting stuff from them. I don't know. I really don't know. I wonder if it's created like, we're all a team now, but there's still some like hesitation in case Chris and Katie know more. So this, of course, I know you guys have seen this interview. This was something that kind of stuck out to me in this interview. It's from Chronicles of Olivia. It's just a little clip of it. And I'll explain what I'm looking at specifically.
It is amazing because in the past couple of weeks, you've got 2 cases.
So, of course, they're talking about Sebastian, and then he's going to compare Riley's case. Remember the young man who went missing after a night of drinking? They found him in the river. This was before his body was found. Chris is linking these cases together and saying like, it's amazing that like this happens. And it's like, I don't know if he's trying to say like maybe they're connected or if he's just kind of trying to relate like to like missing cases in the news at the time. But he says something in regards to it, and I'll pause it when it gets there.
A 15-year-old boy that has vanished without a trace. You've got a 22-year-old 6'4" or 7" college kid from Missouri who has vanished without a trace. that's a huge significance here, that it's like, wow.
Okay, what is the huge significance that he's referring to? Like, not even the same state, not, I don't know. But then it goes on.
How? So,
It's scary.
yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the college kid is from Missouri, I think.
Yeah, Missouri.
I can only imagine what his family is going through.
And then he says, I can only imagine what his family's going through. And it's like, wait a minute, what do you mean? Aren't you guys going through the same thing? So it was just kind of like, is he just an awkward type person? Is he just trying to like strike up, something with Chronicles of Olivia, where he's just kind of trying to relate the cases? But it's just interesting to me, and other people might not see it this way, but for him to say, I can't imagine what his family's going through. It's like, wait, what do you mean? Because you guys are going through the exact same thing. So how can you not imagine what his family's going through? You should be saying something like, I feel for them. I really feel for them, because we know exactly what those sleepless nights are like, blah, blah, blah. So it almost leads me to think that like they know that their situation is different than Riley's, even though Riley at this point was still missing. And of course, Sebastian is still missing. So that's just how that's how I took it. Other people might not see it as strange, but I just feel like Chris's words there, I can't imagine what their family is going through. It's kind of weird, because it's like, you guys are both experiencing a missing child. You should know what they're going through, unless you're saying that you know more about your situation and that it's different than a missing child. So again, I don't know if you guys are on the same page with me. I'm just going to rewind it so you can hear it again. But Tony says they seem way too relaxed, all while laughing. He's a sicko. He is continuously laughing in his interviews. He does that when I don't have it clipped, but when you watch this interview and they're talking about the flashlights, he kind of does a laugh, and it's like, then he discredits the flashlights. So they're very adamant that those lights outside are not flashlights. They want to make it known in every single interview. We went through it last time with Nancy Grace and them. He says, you're very correct, when Nancy Grace says, so those were not flashlights. He's like, correct. You're very correct. And then when Olivia brings it up in this interview, he does like a little like, like it's like funny to him. Or, is it Duper's delight? Is it a nervous laugh? I don't understand still how they can say with full certainty that that's not flashlights. And even at one point he says, I wish I could say, I would love to say that they were flashlights, but they're not. And it's like, why would you love to say that? Because that would almost indicate that like somebody did come and take Sebastian, and that would be like confirmation. So why would you want that to be the scenario? I don't know. It was just kind of weird. Yeah, they get so defensive about the lights. They do. Almost makes me think, again, this is just speculation and opinion. What if it was them using those lights, and they know that that's the one thing that they've kind of effed up on and have been caught on possibly, and they're just saying like, no, that's not what it is. Again, I'm just speculating. I'm not stating it as fact, but I just think that it's very weird how adamant they are that those are not flashlights. The Proudfoot Bauer Sox clan are upset about the whole case as is the town. Their contracts are affected by Sebastian missing and bring media focus on their family. KB will do anything to get Faith. True. Totally agree. I understand a skepticism with them, but given my line of work, volunteering, it's my job to withhold judgment and focus on the facts as it comes natural to me, I suppose. And that's good that there are people who are keeping, an opinion of, well, let's just wait, let's wait it out. It's just, people you guys know that I have someone very close to me in law enforcement, federal level, And he says that this has red flags all over it for the mother and Chris. Of course, he hasn't looked into this case deeply. He just knows what I've talked about with him. But, you know, it is what it is. And the people who are closest to the child are always going to be the focus. And Chris has said things about being cleared. We're cleared. No. And law enforcement has come out saying like nobody's cleared. So it's one of those situations where when you cover true crime, you kind of go down the checklist of, okay, so what's this look like? What are they up to? Where were they at the time of all this? And we haven't really been able to get a simple continuous same story from Katie. In fact, when she talked to Duchess, one of the first interviews that they did on YouTube, she says that she was sleeping on the couch. By the time we get to Nancy Grace, I was reading my book and, you know, talking on the phone. And so it's like little things have changed with her story. And I hate when things change. When stories change, that's when things start to get weird. Hello, Looking Beyond. Yeah, he was quick to say that he was cleared. And not only that, he was quick to say, I was told I don't need to take a poly because of where I was at. And it's like, okay, no way law enforcement would say that they know that you don't need to take a poly. You know, they would have you take it for other reasons. And he lied and said he took the poly and hadn't done so. Right. He said that they passed. And then he tried to walk that back. And then he says, TBI told me that I shouldn't be taking one. Yeah, the truth should never change. Unfortunately, you know, that's the way it is. Once stories start to change around, things are odd. So let's just listen to this again. And again, some people might not see this as odd. I just think that him comparing the Riley case to Sebastian and then stating like, I can only imagine what their family's going through. It's like, it sounds very detached from him dealing with a missing child himself.
I think.
Yeah, Missouri.
I can only imagine what his family's going through.
I know that it was very dark.
Okay, so this is from a TikTok. It's not something I caught myself, but I found it very interesting. So it says, get this, how she stops and corrects herself and how he looks at her. WTF. What's really going on? She's explaining the night Sebastian went missing as if that's the night he vanished. So she says, I know that it was very dark. And then he whips his head at her. Now remember, the flashlights, how adamant they are about, no, those are not flashlights. Those aren't flashlights. Haha, like awkward laugh about it. And you're very correct, Nancy Grace, that those are not flashlights. And then she says, I know that it was very dark. And then he whips his head over at her like, what are you saying? How do you know that? Were you there? And then all of a sudden she kind of like walks it back like, oh, you know, I know that it was, you know, there were no lights that night. It's just very strange to me. Other people might not see it that way. I thought it was interesting. And hello, Debbie. Good to see you.
I know that it was very dark that night. I mean, it gets dark. It gets dark around here at night. It's very dark that night. It gets dark around here. I know that it was very dark that night. It gets dark. It gets dark around here at night. It's very dark that night. It gets dark around here.
All right. So again, you guys let me know what you think about that. Some people think that that's suspicious. Other people might just be like, what do you mean? She just said that, you know, she knows it gets very dark. It is what it is. Perhaps. So this was something Chris wrote on Facebook. Yes, I am confirming that the dogs had a scent that led to the construction site. No signs or evidence reveals Sebastian was there. Please keep in mind that dog tracking isn't as credible as you think. The idea that someone hurt Sebastian and threw him into a wet, fresh, paved driveway is funny. To bury a body in concrete, it would need to be at least 12 inches thick. Secondly, you have to smooth out the concrete and finish it before it's dried. All of this is done while the concrete is poured and being set. Somebody writes back, Chris, I think she is meaning possibly someone luring him out, hurting him, and possibly digging grave before concrete truck gets there. I pray this isn't the case. By all means, I pray that he is found safe and sound. And I know you guys have all been judged. So, very interesting. Now he's confirming the dogs had a scent leading to a construction site. And then he follows it up with, keep in mind, the dog tracking isn't as credible as you think. Now, also, they have come out stating that the dog hit near a retention pond. And so it's just kind of confusing. Like, where exactly did they pick up a scent? And how do we believe Chris? Now, there was somebody, I believe, from that search group that was on Court TV that said, like, yes, it went down. We picked up a scent. It went down to the pond. They drained the pond. We don't know how long that scent was there for. It could have been there days before he even went missing. So it's been very up in the air about the dog scent. And he didn't technically start work until Monday morning, 7 a.m. Right. And there's this whole quote of him like knowing exactly the time it takes from where he works and where the house is. 3 hours and 37 minutes to the door. Well, he sort of confirms he's had thoughts about how to hide a body in concrete. Yes, someone on a whim just targeted this hard to handle kid in his room. I don't know. I listened to a cadaver dog handler and he stated that decomp molecules are active in soil and absorbed by tree roots for almost 25 years. Wow, that's fascinating. There is a lot of different research on cadaver dogs. We've gone through a lot of that research in our Watts research. Hi, Roxanne. Good to see you. And thank you so much for the Cash App for lunch today. I really appreciate you and love you. There was that study that I read in one of our Watts live streams. I can link that article in this stream as well. But it pretty much was a study conducted in, I want to say, Switzerland, out of the US. And it pretty much said that within minutes, decomp can be smelled by dogs on carpet. They tested carpet squares that only had a body on it for like 10 minutes or less. And there was still like a very high accuracy of the dog that could pick up the scent. So you die, you lay on the carpet, you're moved within 10 minutes. They had a very high accuracy of dogs that could still smell that dead body on that carpet square. So people like to say, and there's stuff out there that say like, no, it has to be there for at least 40 minutes, or there's all different quotes. But I will say that this one study, and I will link in the description box for those who want to read it. It did say that within 10 minutes, if something's, the dog can pick it up. They checked the house 10 times, but only thermal. Interesting. And they have checked her car numerous times, she stated. So it's just very up in the air. The dogs were now trained, but Seth got a real trained dog. Well, I'm hoping that brings some more information. Let's see what else we can share. There was something that came out today. Let's see if I can find that. Okay, yeah, this came out today. I'll read it. Sumner County, Tennessee. 2 months ago, Sumner County teen Sebastian Rogers was reported missing. There is still no sign of him, but a private investigator told News 2 she is working hard to find the teen. Private investigator Heather Cohen said she was hired by Sebastian Rogers' biological father, Seth Rogers, a couple of weeks ago. It's definitely the biggest and the hardest case I've been on, Cohen explained. Cohen's day starts with answering calls from a tip line before going through the nearby neighborhoods to knock on doors. She said, even though it has been 2 months since Sebastian was reported missing, new information is still coming in. It's got us jumping. So, I mean, we literally, from the moment we wake up to the moment we are there, nights that we don't go to bed until 2 or 3 in the morning because we are talking to people, Cohen explained. There's a lot of tips that people believe they have seen him everywhere from Florida to Illinois, Cohen added. Some people believe they saw him that morning. So we are trying to follow up on everything we can. Cohen explained she is working independently of Sumner County Sheriff's Office. Sumner County hasn't said a whole lot, Cohen said. We did have an initial meeting, myself and the other private investigator. We both went down and sat down with him. I attempted to get the missing persons report, which we weren't able to do. And so we did have a conversation with him, and really all that we got out of the conversation was that they have nothing. People are still praying. They're still holding out hope, said Don Schmidt, Sumner County Commissioner of District 18. They are not thinking negatively. They are worried, of course, and they are worried of the worst case scenario, but they revert back to prayer and just hope that, someone or something comes up. Signs and images of Sebastian are still visible along Long Hollow Pike, where he was allegedly last seen at his home. Schmidt told News 2 that the public needs to keep posting on social media, praying and doing what they can to search for Sebastian. Those posts are being shared because I watch them, Schmidt said. I mean, citizens, I got to thank them because they are sharing these posts and they're keeping it in everyone's minds. The last update from Sumner County's police sheriff was a Facebook post on Thursday, April 4th. They posted and announced the end of the most recent search effort and said, in part, there are no significant events to report from the search efforts. We, along with many other agencies involved, remain committed to investigating this case. And then, of course, it gives that number, 1-800-TBI-FIND. It also gives her private number, so 615-395-5480. Then his description, 5 feet 5 inches, 120 pounds, dirty blonde hair. He was last seen on Monday, February 26th, near Stafford Court, wearing a black sweatshirt and black sweatpants, said TBI. So that's confusing there. I don't know if this was a mistake, but the last time he was seen was Sunday night. And then Monday morning, she goes to get him, and he's not in his room. So I don't know. That's weird. All right. And then there was also a recent video put out. There's a few of them I want to play. One was 13 hours ago and one was 18 hours ago. So give me a second to share that. Nope. Bear with me, guys. Let's do the 18 hours ago one, and then we'll do the 13 hours ago. So this was News Nation.
Joining me now is Seth Rogers, Sebastian's father, and Heather Cohen, a private investigator who is now working with him on the case. Thank you both for joining us. Seth, I have to start with you. First of all, I can't imagine being in your shoes. I'm so sorry that you're experiencing this, and I'm grateful that you're joining us tonight. I think our viewers need to understand Sebastian was not physically in the home with you. You are no longer married to his mother, but I just want to check in with you, see how you're doing, and if you know anything tonight that you can share with us.
Just know that he's still missing. I know that there's been really no leads that have been shared with me by law enforcement.
When you say there's no leads, are you working with law enforcement? Are they communicating with you?
Not communicating with me. They're communicating with anybody who'd be my private investigator.
Okay, Heather, I want to weave you into the conversation. You started working with Seth. Why are you working with Seth, and what can you tell us so far?
Well, I had received several phone calls, people asking me to get involved in the case, but I wouldn't do it until I was invited in by a family member or law enforcement. And I did end up getting that phone call. A friend of mine said they had talked to Seth and he was looking for somebody, a PI to hire, and he had referred me. So I called Seth and here we are. That was about 2 weeks ago. And yes, law enforcement was standoffish at first with me. And I think that's just because, they had some, Seth can be hard to deal with because he's going through a lot right now.
Well,
I also think they're probably just trying to keep their cards close to their chest. Hello, Aries Pyork. It's good to see you. And Pointer Lover, thank you so much for being a member for 21 months. And for that compliment, I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you and everything that you do for this channel and your support. So let's see what else she has to say. But yeah, I think that there's a point in investigations where, I mean, the parents just aren't going to get daily updates. They want, hello, Linda. They want to kind of keep everything that they know, under wraps for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of trauma. So what can you tell us so far about your investigation? What have you learned? What were the circumstances of the home, of his mother, of his stepdad, the thud that they heard?
Well, I can tell you that from my investigation, I believe that this is a domino effect of events. I believe that we have to go all the way back to probably December and January are going to be key months. There are a lot of events. There was a lot of turmoil surrounding Sebastian. We know that Chris Proudfoot was in the middle of a custody battle with his ex-wife. We know that the daughter did visit over Christmas break. We know that Sebastian was with Seth during that time. We know that that there was a DCS referral in, I believe, February to the Stafford home. That call was likely determined to be unfounded because the case was closed and that file is restricted at this time. I know Seth has tried to find out more about that call and he has been unsuccessful in doing so. But I've also recently learned that there may have been some talk about Chris leaving Katie. And I feel that probably had something to do with Sebastian.
That's news to me. Again, I don't follow all the gossip and all the drama in this case, but I hadn't heard that there was rumors that Chris was going to leave Katie. I heard rumors that he was very flirtatious with other women, but I never heard that they were maybe going to be on the outs. Now, with everything kept on the table, does that mean that this could be premeditated? I mean, some people believe that solely, that yes, this was planned. When we're talking about the neighborhood being so dark, is that something that they knew about, so they turn off their house lights? Some people have said, like, how did they not have a security footage on their house? She works for Brinks, etc. Yeah, I find it weird that the neighborhood doesn't have street lights with houses in the 600,000s range. It is odd. It is very odd. Tennessee isn't where, it's a different world down there than New York. Especially, with taxes, they don't have certain taxes that other states have. So does that mean that they just don't have certain things because other states have the tax money to do it? I don't know. I really don't know. I've wondered the same thing. Like, why is it so dang dark? Like, troubling. And if this was planned, being Bio Girl says I think it was very well planned. Do they know that there's no lights? Again, we're just speculating. We're keeping everything out on the table. This could still be an accident. This could be he did run off from an argument. Again, they didn't really track Yeah, that's the thing too, is in the beginning they were saying like, no, they didn't pick up his scent. Now we're hearing that they picked it up near the retention pond into a construction site. So like, what is going on with the scent of him?
So there may have been some trouble in paradise. To me, these are all things that need to be considered. Could these things have led up to maybe Sebastian just feeling a certain kind of way and leaving? You know, if he overheard a conversation between Chris and Katie where Chris is saying he can't deal with it anymore, he's out, whatever, you know, that could have been motivation for Sebastian to just leave.
Seth, I want to bring you back into the conversation. Was Sebastian safe at his mother's home?
I've heard some things. I have mixed feelings about that.
Were you addressing it with your former wife?
Information that has been brought to my attention has been information received since Sebastian has left.
And the morning after he left, what happened in the home? Can you answer that?
I know that I received a phone call on my cell phone that I didn't get until I got off of work. Everything else would be law enforcement or speaking to Chris Proudfoot to figure out what happened.
Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's
All right, so then this video was shared today as well. Not very long.
The community certainly not giving up hope to find Sebastian Rogers. It's a story we know so many of you have been paying close attention to because you care about finding him. Tonight, there's a special event to help him find his way home. Tony Sloan joins us live with the latest in the search efforts in that special event today. So, Tony, good morning to you. What do we need to know?
Good morning, Ben. You know, it's hard to believe it's been 2 months since Sebastian Rogers was reported missing from Hendersonville. Day and night, crews dedicated all of their resources and hopes to finding that 15-year-old boy with autism who they just want to come home to his family. Today, the city is lighting a path for Sebastian. The bridge at Memorial Park in Hendersonville will be lit up in his favorite color, green, to bring light to the darkness, create a safe path home for him, and to show support for his family. And there will be 2 minutes and 26 seconds of silence to reflect the date of his disappearance, February the 26th. Organizers say they'll stand together in silent prayer and hopes of continued guidance and strength to move forward and to continue searching in the midst of heartbreak. Unfortunately, not much has changed in the investigation into Sebastian's disappearance. Police believe Sebastian left his home with a flashlight, barefoot. Since then, there's been widespread massive searches, but none have had any kind of signs or evidence of Sebastian. Authorities have not ruled out the possibility of foul play, but they found no evidence of that. Today's Light the Path, it'll start at 7:30 p.m. at Memorial Park. I'll send it back to you.
5-year-old Joe Clyde Daniels disappeared from his Dixon County home in 2018.
Another sad case from Tennessee where they never found the child. What is going on? So yeah, those are basically the updates for Sebastian. Unfortunately, we don't have much to go on. Let's move into Madeline Soto. So, of course, the news that we've been all waiting for this week, they have announced that they are giving Stephen Stearns first-degree murder charges in the death of 13-year-old Madeline Soto. So we were all wondering, like, what's the holdup? He's being charged with all these other crimes regarding, children, underage material on his phones, etc. It says, Kissimmee, Florida, Stephen Stearns, a prime suspect in the death of 13-year-old Madeline Soto, has been charged with first-degree murder, records indicate. So that means that they believe it was premeditated. on some level. According to documents obtained by WESH2, Stearns has been charged in Madeline's death. A grand jury indicted Stearns early on Wednesday. Officials defended the amount of time it took to bring the murder charges against Stearns, saying officials were gathering every piece of evidence that they could, and as they should. The evidence shows an individual that was entrusted to keep Madeline safe made calculated moves to dispose Madeline's belongings and place her body in a wooded area before she was ever reported missing, Kissimmee Police Chief Betty Holland says. Now, I won't play that whole press conference. I know you guys have watched it numerous times on other channels, but let's just get to what's important, and that's that there has been a charge for her death. State Attorney Andrew Bain said that they have not decided if they will pursue the death penalty in this case, but those conversations will continue. Officials emphasize that there are some facts about this case that cannot yet be shared. Once Stearns' attorney participates in discovery, more records will be made public. We all know the backstory of this pretty much. This gives the backstory. They had also said that they will not be, there's no plea deal on the table for Stefan at this moment and probably in the future. So that's hopeful. You know, he doesn't deserve any type of deal, in my opinion. Let's actually, there was Court TV that had Madeline Soto and Sebastian. We'll start with the Sebastian segment. It's like the last couple minutes. This was from a day ago, it says. And then we'll watch the beginning half, which is the updates from Madeline. Again, thank you guys all for being here. I'm glad they are in Florida where they don't take a fake death penalty like most states, right? I'm glad they finally charged him with first degree. It's scary with kids not being found what people can get away with. Did they say footprints into the retention pond? So I haven't heard anything about footprints unless you guys have. I've just heard that his scent was followed there and that it was only like knee-deep water. They drained it. They searched it. Unfortunately, nothing was found. Now that makes you wonder, right? Like, was he taken to the pond and drowned in it and then moved somewhere? Again, speculation. It was very, very cold. So it's not like something that I think he would willingly go down to the pond and go swimming in. So in the dispatch calls, they say that they found footprints or that he was just found, the scent was found. He's going to enter a plea deal of guilty, even without a deal, in my opinion. He's the worst kind of coward, just like Chris Watts. We're talking about Stefan Stearns. No, there were footprints, but the dog jumped in the print by accident. Oh. That's unfortunate because things, as much as they are such a key tool, footprints were mentioned in the dispatch call. Okay, thanks, guys. Oh. They said footprints. Interesting. So then barefoot, I'm assuming. I think. Okay. We'll leave that out there as a possibility. We won't state it as 100% fact. Law enforcement said scent not tracked anywhere. CP and KP said scent tracked. Nancy Grace confirms no scent tracked from law enforcement. I swear Seth said in an interview as well that there was no scent tracked. In fact, I shared that interview on my community page weeks ago when he had stated that. And I was like, wait a minute, I thought, so that's the thing. It's like, are we supposed to believe the information that Chris and Katie are giving us? I don't think I can rely on that.
So February 26th is when Madeline was reported missing. That same day, February 26th, another child was reported missing. Sebastian Rogers out of Tennessee. You've seen all the developments in the Madeline Soto case. They're not great developments, but there are developments. But as we sit here tonight, The search for Sebastian Rogers continues. He has not been found. His dad will join us live next.
There is no evidence to support foul play is involved in the disappearance of Sebastian.
But at this point, you don't rule it out?
We're not ruling anything out.
Okay. Same date that Madeline Soto went missing, February 26th, Sebastian Rogers was reported missing. He's a 15-year-old. Take a look at his picture, please, folks. That's the important part here. A 15-year-old with autism, last seen at home in Hendersonville, Tennessee. That's near Nashville. His mother, Katie Proudfoot, discovered he was missing from his room. Around 6 o'clock in the morning is when she says he went missing. There's like no evidence of anything here. So please take a look at the picture. Go on your social media and find.
Right, Allison. How could he have taken the garbage out without leaving a scent? Exactly. And I don't personally believe that was him seen taking the garbage out, or even that Katie says he did it. I mean, it's Katie's word. Allegedly, the neighbor said that she asked, this is coming from Sweetie Pie Low, said that the neighbor said that she asked police and they said that it was him on the camera. But I don't think that police would just give that information out. And even if they did, I think that they would they're allowed to lie to protect the investigation. So that's just, to me, I see that whole, he took the garbage out as another, like, he yelled back to me after I heard the thud. You know, it's her claiming that he was alive at that moment and at the house. And I'm not 100% settled on there was proof of life after Texas Roadhouse. So I don't know. It's one of those things, like, when did, it's interesting. Of course they get back when everything's dark and all that, and you can't see anything. Very convenient.
Find a picture of him and share it, because we've got to share this everywhere. Important note also, April 26th at 7:30 will be Light the Path for Sebastian. Memorial Park in Hendersonville. It's on Main Street. The bridge will be lit up in Sebastian's favorite color, which is green. And joining us right now, special guest, Sebastian's dad, Seth Rogers, is back with us. Seth, thanks for coming on tonight. Let's start with what we're looking at here, Light the Path. Give us a little more information about it, what it's about, and I want to know why green was or is Sebastian's favorite color.
He just likes green. It's been his favorite color for as long as, one of the first conversations is like, what's your favorite color? And he chose green, and has stuck with it. So for the last, 12 years, it's always been green with him. So hopefully we can light the path in green, and they wouldn't let me get a Batman signal. So we'll just go ahead and use glow sticks and light bags, and it'll be 2 months.
2 months. 2 months is too long. I mean, two hours is too long to have a child missing. Another announcement that I saw you made is that you are now working with Chris and Katie. Chris, his stepfather, and Katie, his mom. So all of you are now putting aside your differences and working together?
Chris approached me at the vigil last weekend and asked if, we could drop our egos and work together to find Sebastian. And I told him, as long as he's willing to help, I'll take any of the help I can get. My ego.
And the reason that concerns me that Chris, is like, let's put our egos aside and work together, is Seth has this private investigator. Apparently there's multiple of them. And it's like, does Chris, out of the kindness of his heart, really want to put egos aside? Or does he just want to know what type of information they're gathering? Again, it can go either way. We have to keep both options out there because we don't have any answers. So I can't help but think like, okay, maybe they are just putting egos aside and they're doing what's best for Sebastian. Good for them. That's great. I love to hear it. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Or, of course, he's still missing. So we kind of have to always keep in mind, like, okay, is it the worst case scenario? And Chris just wants to fish for what information they're gathering, where they're at in their own investigation. Pointer Lover I think he wants info.
is not enough to stop me from accepting help to try to find my son.
And how is that developed? Is the help there from Chris and Katie?
I've been sending Chris and Katie emails for things that I already have in the works. I'm currently waiting on Chris to approve what I've sent to him. If he doesn't approve it, then, you know.
What type of things are we talking about?
I've got a canine handler that is extremely overqualified, has several different background clearances, classifications. Their dogs are everything from cadaver to narcotics to live tracking, bomb sniffing. The dogs are exquisitely trained. I've got them to come in to see if we can actually find anything that maybe Sumner County Sheriff's Office wasn't able to get. I've got a couple different organizations that are search and rescue qualified. They're 501c out of Texas. I've actually spoken to an individual who wants to be our spokesperson for all three of us. So that way there's no quote unquote mudslinging or anything like that, that will speak for us as a unified front.
I think that's a great development. I think that's
all this stuff that I've been working on, and I've said it to him. I'm just waiting on him to get back with me and be on the same plan with me to find Sebastian.
Now, I also saw Katie spoke on a program over the weekend, and one thing that stuck out to me, she said she's getting daily updates from law enforcement. Are you getting daily updates from law enforcement?
No, sir.
I love Vinny's face. I really do just adore Vinny. Like, I don't know if you guys are following his own personal YouTube channel, but he's very he's just very passionate about these cases. And that's what I like about him. And he doesn't come off as over dramatic like Nancy Grace and other people do, but that's interesting, Bubba. So that took place tonight at 7:30. CP and KP didn't even show for the vigil. Are you talking about the one that took place that they were just advertising for? That took place tonight? Either way, it doesn't really matter which one they didn't show for, in my opinion. Like, that's odd. And of course, they will blame it on, well, we don't want to be harassed. We're getting harassed by the public. We want to protect ourselves. Like, put your guys' problems aside and do what's best for Sebastian and as like a unit with Seth, in my opinion. I'm pretty sure Seth and Chris can hold their own, and Katie, prior military. I mean, what are you afraid of? Just the public judging you? Like, get over it. This is for your son.
And is there a reason? Are they not communicate? They don't want to communicate with you, or is there?
They are communicating with my private investigators. That way, there is no longer me having to take time out of my day while I'm sitting there searching, trying to gather resources, and planning on the next action to take. My private investigators are speaking with them.
And how many PIs do you have on the case?
Currently, I have 2.
And I'm hearing you talk about private investigators, search teams, canines trained. Is this something that is going to have to be financed some way?
I'm using the GoFundMe. I've been using everything that's coming in so that I can finance what I can.
And at this point, because it's been 2 months, do you feel like the support is still out there from the public? Or is it dying down at all? Because we don't want it to die down.
Sebastian's army is strong. People want my son found. And every day I wake up, God has made sure that I have woken up. My goal is to find my son, and he knows it.
Seth, appreciate you coming on tonight. I know you're extremely busy, but I wanted to make sure everyone knew about Light the Path for Sebastian on the 26th. It's going to be a big crowd. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and our thoughts are with you.
I am currently working on another vigil as well. I should know soon if I'll be able to have it.
Thanks. Thanks so much, Seth.
And ended.
All right, guys. So do we need to recap that interview where Seth said, it was about a month ago, where he says that they didn't come up with a scent? I'm just confused about this whole scent thing. Before we get into Madeline, I don't know. Hang on. I'm not ready to let go of our Sebastian discussion yet.
More than a month since your son went missing. How are you feeling today?
Same as I was yesterday. Just continuing the search, continue looking. I'm not going to give up. Nobody can make me give up.
And where have you been searching? Where do you think he is?
I've been searching everywhere. I mean, anything out of that 5 mile radius that the initial search did, they covered everything there. But there's stuff elsewhere. I mean, we got a lot of territory to cover. And it being over a month, he could be anywhere currently. So I'm searching everywhere.
You, Katie, and Chris had a meeting with TBI today. Did you find out any new information?
Not that I can discuss.
Any progression that might show hope in this search?
Oh, I always have hope. Can't take that away from me.
And how confident are you that Sebastian is alive, and what do you think he's doing right now?
Pretty sure he's probably playing video games somewhere. Nobody's letting him, whoever's got him, they're not letting him see the regular news. They're not letting him surf the internet. Or else he'd know that I'm looking for him. And he'd know that he should actually be trying to get a hold of me. And that keeps me going.
Is there strong reason to believe he may have been abducted?
I don't know if he's been abducted or if he's just, over at a friend's house. Never know. But I'll know when I find him. I'll know exactly what has happened to him.
And other news outlets were reporting that there were lights seen in the backyard that were caught on camera by a neighbor's video. Is that true?
No. What that was a trash truck. Went through, picked up trash, and when it left, of course, it went faster. It didn't have.
Again, this is a month old, this interview.
Stop to pick up trash. That's just false information provided by a particular person.
Did the dogs ever pick up a scent for Sebastian?
For my information that I've been given, no.
Did they find anything on Sebastian's cell phone that would, kind of show that he was going to run away or where he might be?
Not that I know of. He didn't have any internet access or anything on there. He'd have been able to call, text, take a picture, send a picture, use the calculator. That's about it.
Was Sebastian in school on Friday, the day before he went missing?
Yes, ma'am.
So again, is he behind in information? Is Chris putting out wrong information on purpose? Is there miscommunication between all of them? Very confused, but he's claiming there was no scent found. Chris is stating there was a scent found that led to a construction site, and then reiterates the dogs aren't as good as you guys think. And then, like I said, we watched it on a previous episode for Sebastian, the court TV segment with somebody from that search group, the Navy one, who stated that there was a scent that led to the retention pond. So again, we have 3 different stories regarding the scent. And also in the very beginning, remember they were saying no, there was no scent found. So that's why we were all so wait, how did he leave barefoot if they didn't find a scent? And like Allison said earlier, how is he taking the trash out and that scent's not picked out? So it's just very odd. Don't know where to even settle my own thoughts on it. Okay, let's get to Madeline.
Madeline Soto had just turned 13. She had just celebrated her birthday at a family party, but the following morning, she never made it to school. Her mother reported her missing on February 26th. The search began and ended when she was found dead on the side of the road. That was almost 2 months ago. And now tonight, huge breaking news.
Stephen Stearns has been indicted by the grand jury on first-degree murder.
Stephen Stearns, the boyfriend of Madeline's mother, has now been charged with her murder. The same man who's been indicted for allegedly sexually abusing and photographing his abuse of Madeline. Tonight, we'll take a look at all the new details revealed by law enforcement and look at the role of her mother in the prosecution of this case as we continue our investigation into the tragic life and death of Madeline Soto.
I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you for joining us tonight. Big news that hit late this afternoon. Big news in the big story we've been covering. We're talking about Madeline Soto and what her story is tragic, period. I mean, tragic, capital T, however you want to say it. And you think about her life and what she endured during her life, being a victim of sex abuse, not being protected, writing to her friend. And this is no accident. Writing to her friend, when I turn 13, I want to go live in the woods. Because home was not a safe place for her. She knew home was not a safe place for her. She understood. And now she was getting older, and she was getting to the point, I think she was realizing everything that was going on in her life, and it just wasn't right. And it wasn't right, and she was looking for a way out. But not this way. Not this way. The allegations against Madeline's mother's boyfriend are just vile. What he's accused of doing. You know, we throw around that term, worst of the worst, and it can come in different forms. And we see it here on Court TV in different forms. Think about this. Since she was 8 years old, prosecutors say, he's abusing her and memorializing this abuse.
I'm right there with you, Derek. Since day one, I really haven't changed my thoughts on Jen Soto. I wonder where she is right now. Is she really in a mental institution like they've kind of rumored to saying? She has not spoken out since the charges have been pressed against her, former boyfriend. In this segment too, they talk to experts, and like they always do on their panel. And, I feel validated in my suspicions of Jen based off of the experts' opinions. Are experts wrong every now and then? Yes, of course. But there's just something that is just not the norm when it comes to Jen Soto. Remember, she is claiming that. Have I read the court documents on the indictment? I would really love to go over them with a group of people who are interested. I haven't gotten into the details of it because I know that they're just very nasty, in other words, but they are definitely out there for anyone who wants to go through them. I don't know. Even Judy Ron wasn't willing to read through them, but it seems like a lot of people are feeling the same way. Jen Soto needs to be charged for being an accessory for providing a false alibi and neglecting parenting. I was just going to say, remember, she's claiming that morning she saw her daughter getting dressed for school. Now, Vinny kind of brought up on his channel, most crimes occur at night. So how is Jen seeing her get changed early in the morning? Is that a true statement? I don't know. Yeah, that's also been kind of speculated that Jen is going to be a witness for the state against Stern. So there might not be a charge against her. They might need her for conviction. But the case against him, I'm wondering how strong it is. Maybe they don't need her. It's hard. It's a hard one. We're going to have to wait and see. Yeah, the time of death will tell a lot. And other people are saying oh, they're not going to be able to find a time of death. We don't know that. Let's hold out faith that they might be able to.
With videos and photographs on his phone. And he's just charged with the stuff that they found on his phone. What else could have potentially been happening to this child? And now today, the murder. So you look at Madeline's life, all right? Her mom and dad are never together, right? So she's with her mom. And sometimes that can be great. That mother-daughter bond, you and I together, we'll do it. I'm going to do everything for you. And yeah, dad is in the picture. Maybe he's not right around the corner, but he's in the picture and is writing and calling and all those other things, right? And then this creepy man enters your world. A man who targets your mother so he can have access to you. That's what the allegations are here. Make no mistake about it. But that then brings us back to mom. What about mom here? What about mom? To me, this is still the unanswered question about what she is thinking about this, what she thinks about the man accused of molesting.
So Skinny, they said during the press conference that there were no other people. I don't know if they said that there weren't others like linked to Stearns, but they said something along the lines that made it seem like there wasn't like a ring going around, like he wasn't sharing the images with other people. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I think something was mentioned about like that. When they said something about other charges or other people being looked into, they left it vague as like it's still open and ongoing. And thank you so much, Derek, for gifting the 5 memberships, and welcome to those members. And if you received a membership, make sure you give a big thank you to Derek. I really appreciate it. They said it was still an open investigation, right? I don't know. There was something that was mentioned that stated like something about like the material wasn't shared. I can't remember exactly. Yeah, they were extremely vague. We'll have to wait and see. We will have to wait and see.
Her daughter, abusing her daughter. I mean, could she possibly be thinking that he's been wrongfully accused of that? They charged him because it's on his phone. On his phone. So I can't imagine that she could in any way be supporting this man, but we don't know.
And the fact that he had this material on his phone and we're to believe that Jen had no idea, possibly, I find that hard to believe. Like, I know my significant other's passcode for his phone. No, I don't snoop through it, but like, it makes me wonder, did Jen know the passcode to Stefan's? You know, like that's something I really want to know. Or was that something that he was hiding from her for that reason? The other thing too is like, how did she not know that this was happening to her own daughter for so long? We've talked about doctor's visits. I'll take it to another level. Like, don't you ever buy your daughter a new bathing suit, and don't you help, her pick one out and watch her try it on? And like, were there no bruisings and marks on her body that kind of indicated, I mean, we're all adults here. How was there nothing that she's seen that was kind of like, what's that there? Are you okay? I see something on your arm up here. Like what? I just don't understand. It's very hard to imagine that she just had no idea.
We haven't heard from her. I mean, she could have had a mental breakdown for all we know. It's a lot to handle here. It's a lot. But what will her role be in all of this? Because if you're proving a case against this man, like the number one witness, if I'm in the jury box, who do I want to hear from? I want to hear from her. You know the accused, and you certainly know the victim. What can you tell us about what was going on in that house? But we're not sure. We're not sure what her role is going to be in all this yet. Hopefully we'll find out at some point, maybe at a probable cause, preliminary hearing, pretrial motions. Maybe she'll make a statement. Maybe she has an attorney who will make a statement. Maybe a family member will come out and say something, but we haven't heard anything.
Yeah, Landry, that's where I'm at. They said, in my opinion, there would have been some DNA or something that would put him as the killer. I don't think he is smart enough to do it without leaving evidence. I don't think they needed Jen to testify. Well, I don't know. But I tend to agree with that. I wonder if there's something solid that they have where they're not going to need Jen to side with the state against him. However, we've seen in other cases, Adam Montgomery, where it seems like Kayla knew a bit more and was there, at the time of death for poor little Harmony, and she cut a deal, and she testified against Adam. Now that's a totally different case, totally different scenario. They didn't have Harmony's body found, so her testimony was absolutely needed by the state. Here it's a little bit different, so we'll have to wait and see what Florida tends to do and what they are planning to do with Jen. I really hope, like, I don't want her to be in the know, but I find it very hard that she wasn't in the know, and her claiming that she's seen her getting dressed that morning. If it comes out the time of death was after, or I mean, was before 8 a.m., that's extremely problematic.
And at the end of the day, let's not forget where we are. We're down in Central Florida, okay? We've covered big cases before, big cases that seemed pretty straightforward, cases that seem to have a lot of evidence involving the death of a little girl. So the question tonight is, will she get justice? Will Madeline get justice? Which means the truth comes out inside that courtroom and the jury tells us what happened. Because that's not a guarantee.
Hey, Jay. Yeah, guys, I've gotten so many people who have said, I never get notifications when you go live. And I don't know why YouTube is doing that. Like, I don't even get notifications for channels that go live that I substitute, or that I substitute for, that I subscribe to. So I don't know. Some people have said like, oh, you have to unsubscribe and then subscribe again and that'll work. I don't want you guys to unsubscribe and then forget to resubscribe. So I don't really know how to fix this glitch, but usually I'm live Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Sometimes it changes, but it's usually 9 p.m.
Never a guarantee. No matter what you think now, no matter what I think now, no matter how you think the evidence is, until a jury comes back with a verdict, everything's on the table. Anything can happen. So let's get into this indictment. Let me show you the words from the paper, because it's powerful. I mean, to be indicted for murder. The grand jurors of the county of Osceola do present that Stephen Michael Stearns, on or between the 25th day of February 2024 and the 27th day of February 2024, did, in violation of Florida Statute 782.04, subsection 1A1, from a premeditated design to effect the death of Madeline Soto, a human being, unlawfully kill Madeline Soto. So we heard from the state attorney, who will be in charge of the prosecution of this case, whether he does it himself or has one of his prosecutors do it. It's likely the case. Spoke today. Let's take a listen.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. Today, the Kissimmee Police Chief and myself are here to provide an update on the death investigation on 13-year-old Madeline Soto, who was reported missing back on February 26th of this year and discovered dead 4 days later.
I'm going to fast forward some of this press conference. I've watched it numerous times on channels. I'm sure you guys have also.
Let's bring in our guest. Joining me tonight in Orlando, Florida, WFTV investigative reporter on top of the story from the beginning, Shannon Butler. Also in Orlando, Florida, you recognize him, retired judge of the 9th Judicial Circuit, the Honorable Belvin Perry. And finally, in Portland, Oregon, true crime live streamer Gray Hughes, who you can find on YouTube at Gray Hughes Investigates. He's been investigating this case as well. Great to see everyone tonight. Shannon, I'm going to start with you. You were there at the press conference today. Describe the moment, who was there, and what you learned.
Well, there was a lot of media. Obviously, we had been waiting for this to come down for quite a while. We weren't sure that it was going to come so soon. We knew that the state attorney had a meeting with KPD. I think it was last week, but they weren't ready to file these charges. They had to send it to a grand jury. That grand jury then indicted. You look at that panel up there. That was the state attorney. There was also the head of homicide at the state attorney's office. And then one of the other prosecutors down there in Osceola County, along with the police chief. All of them have been in quite a lot of conversations about how to get to this point, how to do what they did today, is charge Stephen Stearns with murder.
Any indication, because as you mentioned off the top, we've been waiting some time, any information about what took this amount of time to get to, and does any of it include figuring out the cause of death?
Yeah, so there's a few things here. Sources have told me there were multiple people inside that house on Sunday night. We're talking about Sunday night, right after Madeline Soto's birthday party, all of that video that you've seen in those pictures of her birthday party. There were multiple people inside that home. So investigators had to go back and interview all of those folks. We know it was Stephen Stearns. We know it was Madeline Soto. We know it was Jen Soto, but there were a couple of other family members there. So one, they had to go back and do.
That is a good point, Jesse. A lot of victims of abuse don't share it, especially with their mothers, especially young kids. For me, it's just it's surprising that there was never an instance where she had like a UTI infection Or, like I said, she's picking out a bathing suit. Her mom's helping her, and her mom, happens to see some bruises on her body, on her thighs, on her arms, stuff that take place when there's, sexual activity happening. I mean, sometimes that happens. So it's like all these years, like I understand, victims don't always tell people, but as a very involved mother, I guess I'm having a hard time, and my own mom kind of being in the know, um, with a lot of things. I wouldn't say everything, but when I was 13, definitely more so than when I was 16. I was definitely hiding things more so as my teen ages went on. I don't know. Read the documents. Plus, the indictment covers that so-called lie Jen told, period. How so? Can you explain here about her seeing her at 8 a.m.? Omission is a lie. And of course, there's always that chance that she was in denial. Yeah, I was like against that theory at first, Derek, because I was like, oh my gosh, people are just speculating about like the most atrocious thing that could happen. But let's be real. What if that was really what put things over the edge for Stefan and he had to get rid of her? You know? Yeah, she probably turned a blind eye and deaf ear on everything. To say Maddie was lying to her mother is vile too. Right. It seems like he knew how to be the perfect predator. That's how I feel, Pointer Lover. There had to be body trauma at the age of 8. That's how I'm thinking of it. Like, I'm not trying to paint a huge graphic picture, but this abuse went on for so many years that from his report, he's 220 pounds. You're telling me that there was nothing that, I don't know. Again, maybe she never, was in a towel after a shower around her mom. Maybe she never got a UTI infection. Maybe there really wasn't something. I think there are some moms that are so selfish that they know stuff is going on, but just let it happen and think it's the daughter's fault. Right. And there's some moms who will pick the boyfriend, that she's so desperate to keep the boyfriend around that she will be in denial about something. I certainly think she ignored blatant red flags. And there's talk about how Madeline didn't like to sleep alone. Now that doesn't mean that she was sleeping with Stefan, but I'm wondering, like, what does that actually mean? You know? Right. It doesn't have to be penetration. I agree. Not all abuse is. That mom is as guilty as she let him stay with Maddie while she worked nights. Probably never examined by a doctor. It's very puzzling. It almost reminds me of us discussing Dylan in the Idaho 4 case. Like, how did she not call 911 after seeing an intruder in their house that had a mask on? And everyone's kind of like very torn on like, how do you do that? And well, she was in shock, or she didn't know what to think. She didn't really think that her roommates were murdered at that point. Now it's like that, but with Jen, where it's like she might not have ever known. She turned a blind eye. She was in denial. Maddie hid it from her. So it's very, a contentious topic for sure. I personally, I don't understand how she didn't know. But again, I can't say that she didn't 100%. So it's just one of those things that we're just going to have to wait and see. I believe that Maddie was going to expose Stefan and told her mother. Jen possibly called Stefan to take care of her, and he did. Stefan silenced Maddie so she wouldn't tell authorities. There's so many things that are out on the table. What they found on his phone shows that was the kind of abuse she suffered. Right. That it was the penetration. Exactly. The abuse was penetration. The grand jury charged Stefan with murder, which stated it had taken place between February 25th through the 27th, right? Therefore, we do not know when she died, so Jen didn't lie. Grand jury uses facts. So you're saying that she did see her alive getting changed that morning. Is that what you're saying? I did notice that they had that range. Time will tell, for sure. Time will tell.
All of those interviews. We don't know if any of that information was helpful in them trying to pinpoint and get where they got today. But that was one issue. Then they were also concerned about doing this too quickly. That speedy trial starts, and they had so much information to still go through that they really wanted to take their time. And I know that KPD, the Kissimmee Police Department, had met with the state attorney several times, and they're like, you're just not there yet. You're just not there. We need a couple of more things. And that seems to be enough. If you look at that indictment and the paperwork, it says that they indicted him based on the fact that he allegedly tried to hide that body. You've
That is also true. The burden of proof for a grand jury is not as high as a trial, and they can use hearsay. Now, when they said that they saw her already dead in that car that morning, maybe that was their opinion. I don't know. We're definitely going to need to get way more information from the medical examiner. Her party was on the 24th, I believe. She did say she saw her getting ready for school that morning. Yes, getting dressed. I'm saying we don't know if she did or didn't, and the range covers her. Yes, the range covers her. They might need that range to cover her in case they need her to testify against him. So maybe that's why they've left that way. And maybe, I mean, it's hard to say. I can't say, we don't have the video or why the police said that they believed she was dead at that point. So, and police can lie to protect, the investigation. So again, the medical examiners testifying at the trial, because remember, they've already stated there is not going to be a plea deal for Stefan. So this is going to trial.
Seen the video or you've seen some video, but we know that there are multiple videos showing him with Madeline Soto after she died. There is indication now that she possibly was killed right after her birthday party. So if you look at that, Vinny, that would have been Sunday night, not Monday morning. If you remember, they said that she was dropped off at school. Sources have told me they believe at this point that she was killed possibly overnight. That would be Sunday night. And that is an important time frame, because if you listen to the statements that she was dropped off at school, that she got ready for school, all of those things that both Stefan Stearns and Jen Soto have said would long be not true if she was in fact killed the night before.
Yeah, Jen Soto was very specific about speaking with her and seeing her getting dressed for school at 8 a.m. That's a huge problem. That's a huge problem. All right, Judge Belvin Perry, great to see you tonight. Let me start here. This guy hasn't shown his face, won't show up in a courtroom, keeps waiving every appearance. I just covered a trial up in New Hampshire where a man who murdered his daughter never showed up in court, finally ordered to show up for his sentencing. Is it possible that this man can waive every appearance?
The answer to that is no, Vinny. He's going to have to be brought before the bar of justice, and the judge has the authority to order that he appear in court for those proceedings. I suspect that this man will be ordered at the appropriate time, other than arraignment, to be there at scheduled court appearances. Because if they let him bypass those appearances, he's going to turn around and use that as an avenue of appeal.
Now, I want to ask you about speedy trial down in Florida, Judge. How does that work if this defense team says, hey, we want this done as quickly as possible? How quick are we talking about?
In Florida, he has a right to come to trial within 180 days of his arrest. I do not suspect that they want a speedy trial in this particular case. Due to the length of investigation, the multiple crime scenes, and we don't even know all the forensics that are out there, they're going to need time to go through all of that. And they're going to need time to develop whatever defenses they have that they can produce. The standard ones would be, quote, insanity, which there's no evidence at this point to show that he was legally insane, or some other person did it. So I do not suspect that this trial will go within the next 2 years.
Gray Hughes, covering the investigation here. It's like we were waiting for this moment to happen. Everything pointed in that direction. But what are your thoughts tonight about what Shannon is reporting, that it's possible that she was dead the night before? What does that mean to you?
Well, I'm glad Shannon brought that up earlier. The 25th at night, you remember a while back we had that Telegram post that was at 11:49. Stephen Stearns is using Telegram at 11:49. And now we learned that site is used by child predators often, and is sort of an up and coming site that they're using. And so it makes you wonder, what was he doing at 11:49 on Telegram if they believe that she could have possibly died the night before? It's also possible that she came home after the party, and then, maybe Jen saw her. There's some theories out there that, like, maybe he said, hey, let me take her out for some ice cream or something. She goes to sleep, and she never actually comes home again. And Jen goes to sleep. I mean, we don't really know what the actual story is, but Jennifer, does she know more? I don't know. I mean, I could see Stephen Stearns being one of those controlling type people that absolutely, she trusted, and he would always have a really good explanation for everything. The 8 a.m, when she says that she saw Madeline getting ready at 8 a.m, we already knew that isn't a true statement, because he was Stephen was already throwing the backpack and laptop in the garbage at the trash at 7:35, right? So that's likely that Madeline isn't even alive at this point. So, when Jen said that, I could easily see him saying, listen, I was the one that took her to school. You were still sleeping, you'll look bad. So just tell him that you saw Madeline at 8, right? You could just see him.
I think that that's possible, that he kind of persuades her to help him out with this whole alibi. Like, it can't just be me who, drove her to school. Please help me out here. And her being like a weak woman who needs this man around, she decides, like, okay, yes, I'll go along with this scheme. Like, I know, she believes that he had nothing to do with it, so she's just helping him out. But I just don't know. Why would a mother lie to so many people and to the police about, seeing her get dressed and stuff? But that story did change, because in one interview on the media, she said that she's seen her the night before and they were going over the presents and she was all happy. And then in another interview, she brought out, like, yes, I saw her getting dressed at 8 a.m. So it was something in her story that did change. Yeah. I've seen it firsthand with a good friend of mine who has a YouTube channel as well.
Being like this, like he guilted her into telling the lie that she saw Madeline at 8 a.m. That's my opinion.
Yeah. How is he going to explain it unless she's connected? Now, Shannon, in terms of what's next, in terms of an appearance in court, is he scheduled? What do we expect? When do we expect it?
Well, he has to make a first appearance on these murder charges, and then he'll be arraigned later. But we do expect more information to be uploaded for us to see before that happens. There are still a lot of details that we need to see. It wasn't grand jury indictment. A lot of that is sealed, but we do know that some of that information is forthcoming, and we don't know what that will mean in this case. But he will make a court appearance if he shows up. There was some indication from the state attorney today that going forward, he will have to appear in court because he hasn't. They've made it very clear that they intend to make sure that.
Like the day of the party.
I want to skip ahead and just get to what the judge has to say here, because I think that he kind of closes things out really well. Hold on, let me just get to that part.
First of all, Benny, her demeanor and her affect is totally inconsistent with a mom whose daughter who has gone missing, and she has no idea what happened to her. It is quite evident to me by all.
So, not only is this guy a judge, I respect his opinion and his analysis. He's seen a lot of criminals in his career, including Casey Anthony. And he's pretty much going against what Gray said, like Gray is giving her the benefit of the doubt. Like, well, she might just be saying what Stefan told her to say. And she has no idea, the real story. This judge is pretty much saying like, well, everything that Jen has come out and said, like from day one, is just against everything that we've seen with a real mother who had nothing to do with their child's death or knowledge of anything going on that was nefarious. So let's just listen to what he has to say, and then we'll probably end things for the evening.
All of the different stories that she has told, that there may be some involvement. When did she leave work? When did she go to work? What is the time of death that is estimated by the medical examiner in this case? Was there any evidence in the autopsy that showed that this beautiful young lady was sexually assaulted? A lot of roads are going to lead to this mother. And until we get additional information, the suspicion is very high as to her involvement in how did this go on for years, and she didn't even talk to her daughter about it. These are a lot of unanswered questions that will be answered.
Gray Hughes, I always come back to Madeline and the message that she sent to her friend saying, when I turn 13, which is what she turned, I'm going to go live in the woods.
And then you listen to what
live for time that
and working with other people. I'll let the judge start with the premeditation. Where do you see the potential for premeditation, or what does it take in Florida to prove that?
The jury instructions will say there's no exact length of time that premeditation must exist. It must exist at the time of the killing. Also, premeditation can be determined by the cause of death. Was this a strangulation? We don't know. But the state has evidence that they have revealed through autopsies and other things that led them to believe that this was a premeditated killing. It's all really going to come out later on when we get a chance to look at all of the physical evidence, particularly that autopsy report.
Absolutely. I know they're not making that public, Shannon, the autopsy report, according to the medical examiner. But Shannon, how about the timing now? Because there was some mention about, hey, we can't say anything now. The defendant has the right to get discovery. From your experience in the media covering all these big stories, what are your thoughts about when the public will learn some more of the details of what happened and what they found in this investigation that led to today's indictment?
Well, we've already seen some of the discovery schedule, and we've already requested some of that information. I don't expect that's going to take very long to get. That was for the other case. In this case, they have 15 days. And as soon as that discovery is shared, I expect it won't be too long before we know. I would guess in the next 30 days or so, we will start to piece some of this together.
So she's predicting in the next 30 days, we're going to get even more information to kind of give us the full picture of what happened to Madeline. Rest in peace, Madeline. Hopefully, I feel like we will definitely be on the road to justice for her, but it doesn't clear up a lot of the questions that we have in regards to her mother, what she knew, when she knew, did she know? And, I still go back to this whole, conversations that mother and daughters have, when you get your menstrual cycle and, you start taking health class in school. It's hard because I know that victims hide things. So it's hard to kind of wrap your head around, like, did they ever even have like a sex talk? And did she ever say things like, don't even just to talk about predators, if somebody touches you on your privates, you need to tell mom, you need to tell me, or you need to tell the nurse at school. It's just kind of hard to imagine none of that taking place. But at the same time, being a realist, I guess we have to accept that people, especially victims of SA, they hide things out of shame. They feel like it was their fault, even though it's not. So it's very hard. It's tough. We're going to have to wait and see what more information comes out. You know, where exactly is Jen? Is she having a mental breakdown because, you know, she had nothing to do and it's all a big shock? Like, we just don't know yet. But I appreciate you guys all being here. And, you know, thank you so much to those who donated memberships, and for everyone who came and participated in the chat and just keeping the discussion going. I know that sometimes we can disagree with each other, and I think that that's what's good about my chat is like we're very open-minded and we can kind of see the big picture from different angles. And you might not agree with with everything that someone is saying, but it might make you open your eyes a little bit and see things a little bit differently, which is still good. So I guess we will be live again Tuesday night around 9. Not sure about what case it'll be on, but we'll definitely be live next week. Please join me again next week, and we'll be keeping Sebastian's face and case out there as well. I really hope that we get more updates than just TBI saying that we're continuing our investigation. It just feels very like reminiscent of Summer Wells' case, which is, you know, in June, we'll be coming up on another year that's gone by where we've gotten no updates, no charge. Your child, your responsibility. All right. Well, you know, I agree there. We'll have to find out what ends up happening with Jen Soto. I know that Court TV did a whole segment. Let me see what it was called. Today, I think it came out. I haven't watched it yet, but it is titled Will Madeline Soto's mom be a witness or a co-defendant? So that came out 11 hours ago. Should be interesting to watch if you guys want to watch that. Vinny, of course, is on that one. And yeah, we'll keep everybody in the loop. And again, yeah, you guys have a great weekend. Thank you everyone for being here, and we'll talk very soon. Bye guys.